Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we are doing a couple different IPAs from different brewers, and this is another review of beers that I have sourced from Tavour. So this is a Tavour review. The two today, honestly, I can't even wait. When I tell you about these, I think it's going to get you equally excited. So the first, where we're going to start is the standard IPA. This one is from Kings County's Brewers Collective, based in Brooklyn, New York, Kings County. This beer is called Superhero Sidekicks. It's a standard IPA, clocks in at 6.9% ABV, and it's got a blend of Cascade, Centennial, Idaho 7, and Mosaic hops in it. When we get to the beer by itself, I'll show you the can art. They always have some of the best can art of any brewer I could name. Number two. This is technically brewed and canned by Anchorage Brewing Company, based out of Anchorage, Alaska. However, this is a collaboration with just some of the top craft brewers in the game right now, and it's a mighty impressive list. This one is a triple IPA, clocks in at 10% ABV, and Anchorage brewed this in collaboration with Omnipolloscope, Monkish, Trillium, Other Half, Equilibrium, The Veil, Crooked Stave, Stigbert's, OO, Cellar Maker, and Cloudwater. So we have got some massive big craft beer names and fingerprints all over this beer. Honestly, I can't even wait to get that many great minds together to collaborate on a single beer. This has got to be something special. So I am really, really excited to try this one. Both of them, honestly, but this one in particular. So nonetheless, we're going to get things started with the lighter of the two, the standard IPA from Kings County Brewers Collective. This is Superhero Sidekicks, standard IPA at 6.9% ABV. Okay, jumping right into our first beer of today's Tavour IPA review, we've got Kings County Brewers Collective. This is Superhero Sidekicks, standard IPA at 6.9%. ABV. Kings County Brewer Collective is based out of Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn is in Kings County, hence the name. Before we jump into the beer here, though, let's look at the label art, because they have some of the most awesome label art, in my humble opinion, of any brewer. They always have like this comic book theme, and it just looks cool beyond all belief. Try to rotate the can around, get it as close as I can, and keep it from glaring from my set lights, but it looks awesome. I mean, I absolutely love it. If any cans were ever worthy of keeping, theirs certainly are. This one, again, is brewed with a combination of 4 hops. They've got Cascade, Centennial, Idaho 7, and Mosaic in here. So I'm expecting this is going to be a big beer with a lot of hop aroma and flavor, and probably a good amount of bitters, as there are some high alpha acid hops in this bunch. But let's go ahead and get this poured right in the glass. Rotate that back, keep it clear towards you. All right. Won't quite get the entire can in there. I could, but let that head form well. All right. That is a lovely beer. Now, I got to say, it does look very much like a New England style. It does appear to be hazy. I didn't anticipate that, but I'm assuming it is. And if that's the case, it looks wonderful. Beautiful color, nice haze to it. Formed a beautiful creamy head on top as well. That is a lush, creamy head. And I can tell you, this beer has a pretty amazing aroma. I can smell it from here. As I get closer to this glass, it just gets more intense. It smells so hoppy and so fruity, it's ridiculous. Papaya, orange, lemon, grapefruit. That's kind of the bulk of the fruit I'm picking up. There's even some pine kind of resiny behind it. Oh yeah, it smells so good. It smells so hoppy, and it smells like it's going to be very hop flavor dominant just based off the aroma as well. I'm gonna see if I can top this off. Get the very last of this can in here. I think I can. Perfect. Yes, yes indeed. Turn that back around so you can admire the can art. All right. Well, looks great, smells great. Head's a little higher than I normally dive in, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Let's jump in. Ooh, oh, that's nice. Yeah, this is hop forward for sure. Very hop forward. All of the various fruit aromas that you get on the nose come through in the flavor of this beer. No question about it. It's very juicy is the best way I'd put it. It tastes like hop juice mixed with fruit juice. That's the best way I could think to describe it. The characteristic traits of the hops that are imparting all of these fruit aromas come through in the form of flavor in the glass, and then it's classic hoppiness. Big, big punch of bitters and lingering. And it's a mix of, I would say, citrus, slight floral, just a tiny hint of pine and resin, and some underlying kind of earthy bitters. That's kind of the mix. The floral and the kind of citrusy are the flavors, the standard hop flavor characteristics that are coming through, most dominant behind kind of the fruit flavors this naturally imparts. But yeah, very nice, very hop dominant. I'm gonna jump in for body mouthfeel, finish if I can retain it. Body is medium heavy. It's kind of on the border between the two. It's got nice substance. At 6.9% ABV, I'm not surprised. That's about where I'd expect it to be. It's got good breadth to it. It feels weighty. Mouthfeel, I wouldn't say it's sticky. It's got a little viscosity to it, but it's not super sticky. The kind of sensation once you start to roll it around the palate, as expected, it gets very, very creamy, and it adds kind of this extra thickness that already goes with the slight viscosity the mouthfeel does have. Now, it's not a dry finish at all. It's very wet, and it does stick around the palate in terms of lingering flavors, and certainly the hops and the bitters. The alpha acids really come through in this. They're not as punch you in the face intense to say like a Ruination from Stone in terms of bitter intensity, but in terms of lasting effect, it certainly has that. So you get all of these wonderful hop aromas, all of these wonderful hop flavors, and you can pick them all out individually, and all the different kind of hop trait characteristics that come through, and then this nice lingering bitter that pairs with all the lingering hop flavor and fruit flavor. You get all of it. It's so well balanced. It's just really a fantastic beer. I'm going to jump in one more sip. Just hodgepodge of different fruits. Then the hop qualities start to talk to you, and they just keep mixing with that fruit. And it's almost an even balance of the fruit that you can taste and pick them all out, and all the different hop characteristics and pick them all out. This is a very, very, very enjoyable IPA. That's so good. I'm going to take my time and sip on this one, come up with my scores. When we come back, we will get to our second beer. This is Anchorage Brewing's collaboration called Omnipolloscope. This is a triple IPA. I believe it's a hazy, 10% ABV on that one, and it's the collaboration with a myriad of brewers, which I'll tell you again when we get to the beer next. Okay, now moving on to the second beer of today's Tavour IPA review. This one is brewed by Anchorage Brewing Company based in Anchorage, Alaska. It's a 10% ABV triple IPA called Omnipolloscope. And this is the one that's the collaboration with some really big names in the craft world. We've got Anchorage, Omnipollo, Monkish Trillium, Other Half, Equilibrium, The Veil, Crooked Stave, Stigbert's OO, Cellar Maker, and Cloudwater. So just some massive name dropping on this one. And I honestly, I don't even know what to expect, but I imagine it's going to be pretty intense. Label art looks pretty neat too. It's a purple label with, I don't even know what this is. It just looks neat. I'm not sure how best to describe what it looks like, but nonetheless, there it is. Let's get this one cracked, and let's just get this one cracked and poured right in the glass. All right. Okay, didn't quite get the whole thing in there. As expected for a triple, it's got a much more golden, kind of ambery, caramelly color to it. A lot more fermentables in there, 10%. Poured a very nice, creamy, foamy head. As you could see, that is quite thick, quite dense foam. Yeah, this one, it's got a little haze to it. I'm not sure if this is intended to be a hazy, but it's not clear. It could be from the malts. It could just be unfiltered, but it does definitely have a slight haze to it. See if they mention any details about it. Nope, just said it's a triple IPA. So nothing really to go on there, but I would say it is not crystal clear. It is slightly occluded. I'm going to see if I can get a little more poured in there. And this head is just insane. It's so thick and creamy, and it is barely making a dent at all. I almost feel a little bad, but I am going to agitate this just a little bit. See if I can break this down just a touch before I jump in. Gosh, that is so thick. If you could see and feel this in person, you would understand just how thick that foam is. Normally when it's thick, okay, you start to do some swirls and it'll start to break down a bit. This is just tight, dense, packed foam. I mean, this is nitro tap worthy. That would be perfectly in place atop a nitro tap stout. Unbelievable. But I think that's about as much as it's going to settle for me, so I'm just going to have to deal with a mess in my beard. So let's jump in. Actually, let's smell it first. That's very important. Man, this smells so hoppy. This smells so hoppy. You can smell very bright citrus, nice bit of floral. Those are the two major hop aromas I'm getting. Smells very fruity, very juicy. Grapefruit, other assorted citrus. Maybe just a hint of pine in the back. It's going to be an interesting hop bill, I imagine, in this one. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's got a very nice smell. You have to breathe in pretty deep. That's a thick head of foam, but yeah, it comes through clearly. Let's jump in. Oh, that's a big IPA. Wow. Okay. Gotta say, I did not anticipate that. Okay. So the hops come through, the hop flavors, and everything that they impart comes through in abundance. No question about it. What I did not anticipate was how many bitters would come through, because even with just a double, you start getting in imperial territories. They get more fermentables in there to boost up that ABV, and it starts to overshadow the bitters of the hops. They come through in this. I'm still not saying it's on the level of, say, a Stone Ruination, but this is hop forward imperial for sure. As a triple, I'm not sure I've ever had one that's this bitter forward. Certainly they can have hop presence. This has hop presence and it has a boatload of bitters in it. Body, as you might expect, is heavy. It's definitely heavy. It's heavy for an IPA, and it's heavy in general. Mouthfeel is quite viscous. It's very wet and sticky and viscous. Start to roll it around your palate. It starts getting creamy in tandem with that viscosity, and it makes it feel all the more thick. This is a really, really big beer. It's big in flavor, it's big in aroma, it's big in body and mouthfeel, and it's just all over the place with what these hops are doing. I'm gonna jump in, see if I can pick apart how these flavors develop and finish. God, it's so good. First, get it in your mouth. Get a mix of citrus and floral, a little bit of earthy tropical fruit, and then within the first second or two, a little kind of pine and resiny character comes through. So they're using a whole bunch of different hops that are bringing a bunch of different characteristics to the table, and they're all working together in tandem in this beer. And it's really big and it's really complicated. The flavors just keep weaving in and out. I can say that this one does tastes quite juicy. It's very juice forward. Not necessarily fruit. It's just the juicy quality that it has. If you've had a bunch of New England IPAs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This fits that bill. It's big, it's bold, it's juicy, it's full of hop characteristics, and this is a triple IPA that is a story all about the hops. Now, interestingly enough, you can actually taste the malt bill in this one through all of that. It's a little bit caramelly, but not overtly caramelly, and it's certainly been hopped to the point that the hops are the shining star. The malt bill in this is very much in the background. This is all about the hop. Gonna jump in for one more sip, see if I missed anything. Big, just juicy burst of fruit. All these other characteristics coming through in just a big punch of bitters. You got floral, you've got citrus, you've got tropical, you've got earthy, you've got pine, you've got resin, you've got it all. All of the classic character traits that hops bring to the table, this beer has all of them in it. It's so good. If you're a fan of IPAs and you're a lover of hops, I don't know how hard or how readily it would be to get your hands on this. A collaboration like that, I imagine that hop heads around the world would snatch them right up. I got lucky. I got it the day it launched within minutes on Tavour, so I snagged my can. But man, this is an incredible beer. Absolutely blowing me away. I expected it would be good. I didn't expect it to be this good. Even with all the big names that played a part into its genesis, I really, honestly, I am blown away by how incredible this is. I don't often care for the higher ABV IPAs because they normally disappoint me. This is easily the best triple, nay, double and up. This is the best Imperial IPA I've ever had. Hands down, no question about it. If they could all be like this, oh, the world would be a better place. This is fantastic. The balance for me is perfect for an IPA. It's so big and complex. I'm going to have to really sip on this one, take my time, come up with my scores. When we come back, we will get both beers rated from top to bottom. Okay, now that we've gotten to enjoy both of these beers, we're going to get them ranked, starting with the Kings County Brewers Collective. They are based out of Brooklyn, New York. This is Superhero Sidekicks. This is standard IPA, though it was a hazy, 6.9% ABV, brewed with Cascade, Centennial, Idaho 7, and Mosaic hops. Starting with the aroma on this one. Fantastic, pungent hop aroma. It just smelled as fresh and hoppy and juicy as could be. And you got to pick up a myriad of classic hop aromas that came through in the mix of all of it, and it was quite pungent. I gave it a perfect 10 out of 10. For the taste, I really, really enjoyed this one. This was probably one of the more hop-centric hazies I've had. This one did a very good job of extracting all of that fantastic hop aroma and flavor, but still had a nice kick of bitters. It wasn't as bitter as many IPAs, especially pushing 7%, but it was really close. I only docked 1 point, I gave it a 9. For the body was huge, even bigger than you would expect for 6.9% ABV. It had a really robust presence in the mouth. I loved it. Perfect 10 out of 10. Mouthfeel. This was a very viscous beer, and any slight agitation on the palate just made it even thicker and creamier. Perfect 10 out of 10. For the finish, this had a very, very long finish. The hops were very present. The classic hop flavors came through in abundance, and it did have a lot of bitters. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't top tier, but just shy, and those lingering intense hop flavors and bitters really stuck around the palate for quite a long time. There, I only docked 1 point as well. I gave it a 9. Head retention, this was as thick and lush as could be. One of those that could have been pulled off of a tap. Perfect 10 out of 10. Appearance-wise, this is a textbook IPA appearance in terms of color, and as a hazy, it was in terms of its actual physical appearance as well. That was textbook, gets a perfect 10 out of 10. Balance on this. Very well balanced beer, and given all of the hops that they put in there and the high alpha acids, I think they did a good job, but I still would have liked if they had extracted more alphas into it to make the bitters a little more present. The hop characteristics and the fruity and juicy side of it were very abundantly clear, and certainly in terms of aroma as well. And the bitters were bold, but they weren't as bold as I expected for that hop bill. I did dock some points there. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Feeling in the intangible, I love this beer. Admittedly, I do like standard non-hazy, non-New England style IPAs better than their hazy and New England style counterparts. But this is easily one of the better hazies I've had. It was very, very hop forward. Really, if it had just extracted a little more in terms of alphas to get the bitters up, I would have given it a perfect score, but I only docked 1 point. I gave it a 9. Finally, as an example of the style. Fantastic IPA, fantastic hazy IPA. Again, for me, and it's really close, I teetered on the edge, but the balance is such a critical aspect because balance affects so many other aspects of a beer. And when we're talking IPAs, it really comes down to the hops and the bitters. If this had just gotten a little more bitter presence out of those high alpha acid hops, it would have been a slam dunk. But I did dock 1 point. It gets a 9 for an example of this style. That brings the total score on Kings County Brewers Collective Superhero Sidekicks to a 94 out of 100. So a very, very high score. This is absolutely a top tier IPA. If you like standard IPAs, if you like hazies, this is one definitely keep an eye out for. I highly recommend it. Moving on to beer number 2. Brewed and canned by Anchorage Brewing Company. This was the collaborative brew done in conjunction with Omnipollo, Monkish, Trillium, Other Half, Equilibrium, The Veil, Crooked Stave, Stick Braze, OO, Cellar Maker, and Cloudwater. So some of the biggest names in the craft beer game, and certainly all well known for their IPA game as well. This is Omnipolloscope number 5. This was 10% ABV, triple IPA, also a hazy. The aroma on this one, it was nice. It was above average, but I was surprised that it didn't come through as strongly as compared to this one. It was above average, but I would have liked a bigger kick. You really had to get down near the glass and really breathe deeply to get an idea of what to expect from the beer. 7 out of 10 for the aroma. Taste on this one, absolutely fantastic. I am positive I have never had a triple or indeed an imperial that I've enjoyed as well as this one. This beer did not let all the abundance of malt that boosts up the ABV to get into that triple and imperial territory drown out the hops at all. This beer was a love story to the hop, and it was just unbelievably hop-centric. Perfect 10 out of 10 for me. Body on this one, if I thought the body on this was big, the body on this one was even bigger. And even at 10%, I was surprised how massive it was. Gets a perfect 10 out of 10. Mouthfeel, another one. Super thick, super viscous, and abundantly creamy when it started to move around the palate. It was perfect. It gets a 10 out of 10. Finish on this one. I was very surprised by the finish on this beer. It was not anywhere near as long as I anticipated that it would be, especially given how strongly the hops came through and indeed the bitters from the hops, but it didn't have the staying power. It was on the high end of average, but that's really where it kind of petered out for me. It gets a 6 out of 10. Head retention, just as with the first, it could have been poured off a tap at a bar. It gets a perfect 10 out of 10. Appearance-wise, this was a beautiful, beautiful triple IPA. If anything, I think maybe it was just a little bit lighter in terms of depth of color than your average triple, and it really was beautiful and had a nice, beautiful haze to it. I think they really did a great job there. Gets a perfect 10 out of 10 for the appearance. Balance, this was a stunningly well-balanced triple. I fully expected, as almost happens in every case, that I get an imperial, triple, double, whatever you want to term it, and the malts just bash the hops. The flavor gets lost, the bitters just disappear. This was the complete opposite of what I usually experience, and it was glorious. The balance was tremendous. This was hop, 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 and when you got done with the hops, just throw in some more hops. I mean, it was beautiful, masterfully balanced. I wish they were all like this. It gets a perfect 10 out of 10. Feeling in the intangible. I absolutely loved it. It's rare that I will have a double, triple, imperial, any of the higher ABV IPAs that I'm walk away from and say, wow, that was a really great experience. I'm glad I got that instead of a standard IPA. This, hands down, is an exception. This is a world-class example of exactly how to do it properly. It gets a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. Finally, as an example of the style, I did dock one point, and it really, for me, all came down to a combination of the aroma and the finish. If the aroma had been a little more pungent and the finish had lasted a little longer as I expected, being that hop dominant, I probably would have given it a perfect score, but I had to dock one because it wasn't quite there as an example. But I love the beer nonetheless. That brings the total score on the Anchorage Collaboration Brew Omnipolloscope number 5 to a 92 out of 100. So all total, only a 2-point spread here. Two top tier, completely different IPAs and IPA offerings, and they were just both masterfully done. If you can get your hands on either of these, I highly recommend them both. Just fantastic, fantastic IPAs. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I sincerely appreciate you tuning in. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And if you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live to YouTube, just click the notification bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Till next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.